everyone, this is Dwayner, of course, and, well, wait, actually I'll do that later, but I would like to welcome you to my Pokemon Yellow walkthrough. Just going through the intro right now. There's really nothing to see or hear, it's just showing it out there for you guys. Okay, so I wanted to go over a little intro of Pokemon Yellow before I got into it. Pokemon Yellow, and it was called the Special Pikachu Edition, but we all know it as Pokemon Yellow. It's the third Pokemon game released worldwide, and it was a follow-up and an expansion in a tiny way to that of Pokemon Red and Blue. However, in Japan, they did not just release Red and Blue, they released a green to go along with it, you know, to commemorate, I guess, the 3 starters. But I guess when the game series hit kind of worldwide and they were translating it, I guess they didn't really see a point of 3 games that were essentially the exact same games, Red, Blue, and Green, so they just carried over Red and Blue. Yeah, probably scratch that last sentence, what I just said, but, anyways, in Japan, though, Pokemon Yellow was the 4th released title. But despite this, Pokemon Yellow mainly was a game being released just as an intention to buy Game Freak time, which were the creators. Game Freak is the creators of the Pokemon game. It was just made to buy them time so they could work on the Generation 2 games, Gold, Silver, and Crystal. But amazingly, Pokemon Yellow became the 2nd best non-bundled game for its console, Game Boy Color, profiting almost 15 million USD. And it came in 2nd place, losing only to its predecessors, Red and Blue worldwide, which together earned a whopping 31.6 million USD. In fact, the game franchise alone, Pokemon, is the #2 best-selling game franchise of all time across all consoles, only behind the Mario franchise. And that's definitely saying something. Look it up. It's all consoles. It beats out Call of Duty, it beats out Halo, it's 2nd best all time. So, and something that really, you know, attracts my attention with this is that, you know, Game Freak released basically a game kind of just like Red, Blue, and Green, just with a little bit of extra exceptions, but the fans loved it. Fans did not care. Fans were like, yeah, and they went out and bought this game and they were happy with it, even though it was kind of like the exact same game. You know, and that's just crazy, because today if game developers did that, everyone would, you know, argue that said game developer is money hungry, and you see it a lot of times kind of done today, you know, with people releasing games on like Xbox and 360 and maybe Wii, but then they'll release like the same version of the game just kind of called something different with a few little extras for like PSP or you know, the DS, and people were like, wow, it's like basically the same game, you know. And same with like downloadable content and whatnot, you know, like when Halo ODST was released after Halo, you know, people, or Halo 3, people were like, wow, this is basically just an expansion. Why, you know, this is stupid. You know, why was this not like DLC? Why was this a whole new game? But back in the late 90s, really early 2000s, people were fine with this. So fine, in fact, that Pokemon Yellow alone made almost 15 million USD. That's almost half as what, you know, assumingly Red and Blue pulled together to make that 31.6 mil. That just goes to show, you know, not just a change in the developers over the years, but also a change in the consumers. And added to that, although this game was widely popular, after it was released in 1998, it didn't even hit other countries until a year later, more than a year later, when America got a hold of it, and then a whole nother year later in 2000 in Europe. Pokemon Yellow pretty much arrived near the end of Game Boy's lifespan, but it still held its own, and it shows. And even though Yellow is vastly similar to that of Red and Blue, and Green if you've played it, the game still holds some key aesthetic differences that I'll definitely be sure to hit during the Let's Play. But I will say that certain aspects of the game were changed to remodel the anime rather than the Pokemon manga. And yes, there is a Pokemon manga, and if you didn't know, that's actually what the games are remodeled after. It goes manga, games, anime. But in this case, Yellow cartridge, a lot of it really remodels the first generation anime as well, and we'll definitely see that. This is a Pokemon Nuzlocke challenge. What is a Pokemon Nuzlocke challenge, you may ask? Okay, well, it's basically a challenge that a bunch of people got together and they were like, oh yeah, let's make these games challenger and let's kind of have fun with it. It was created by a guy named John on some Pokemon forum, or John Locke, that was his name, and you know, he used this Pokemon Nuzleaf as kind of his avatar, so he kind of formed that into Nuzlocke challenge. Anyways, there's 3 general rules of the thumb here, and one is, if your Pokemon faints at any time, no matter how they faint, if they faint at all, you have to put them in the PC, and you don't use them again. Now, what's the point of putting them in the PC and not using them again? Well, the fact that they faint kind of assumes they dead, so it's like you're saying goodbye to them forever. But you put them in the PC, so at the end of your challenge, if you win or lose, you can go back and see, you know, exactly how many Pokemon were with you, how many Pokemon died, how many lived, you know, the statistics. Second is, when you encounter a new route, the first wild Pokemon battle you run into, that's the only time you have to be able to catch another Pokemon and add to your team. If you knock out that Pokemon, or they flee or run, or you just don't catch them, you have no other chances to catch any other Pokemon on that one route. So it's general rule of thumb to just, you know, catch whatever you can. Pretty much. Generally speaking. And if that's kind of confusing, just don't worry, I'll explain it more once we actually run into that situation. The third rule, and it's not really a rule, it's just kind of, it's more of a amplifier to help you. But you are supposed to nickname every single one of your Pokemon. That's mainly to increase your emotional bonds with your fake imaginary friends on this game. So, you know, maybe in a decision where you're deciding, should I waste the potion to heal them? You know, you'll more likely go with yes, because you'll bond stronger emotional ties. So, it's there to kind of help, if you get what I mean. And again, I'll touch the surface on that as well. Now, there's other little small additives and whatnot you can add to your Nuzlocke, but honestly, Pokemon Yellow with the initial Nuzlocke challenge is hard enough. So if you want to see the other rules or whatever, or just Google it to yourself, or you know, look up the Nuzlocke for yourself, be my guest, Google it. So with that said, let's get on with our adventure. So basically, Oak's here. He's just introducing us the world of Pokemon, and that's basically it. He goes through the background of it, and then we get to us. Our name. Well, our name. Oh, what am I doing? Of course, this is my name. So, yes, my name is Dwayner. And this guy, he's a giant douche. So, we're definitely going to name him... He's actually a step beyond douche. So he gets the appropriate name of Asshat. And you'll see why later. And that's Gary Oak's grandson, by the way. So, the world is our oyster. And at 10 years old, we are moving out. Crazy, huh? So the first thing you want to do is definitely hit up this and take your potion out. That could make or break you. Actually, I know where it could make or break me. And let's talk to our lovely brunette-haired, well, black-haired mother. And all boys leave home someday. Usually at age 18, sometimes later. But, no, we are leaving home at age 10. So I'm going to save you guys some time. Professor Oak's not in his lab. He is conveniently spying on us. And there he is. Tells us not to go out in the grass. It's pretty dangerous. And cash and whatnot. So he just turns to his left, and right off the bat, you know, the one Pikachu in all the lands is right here. And he catches it in one swoop of his mighty researcher Fist. So that was basically a close one. We could have died. Then again, why are you sending a 10-year-old out to start his own adventure at age 10? So we have to go to his laboratory. You know, asshat's here. You know, he's fed up with waiting. He's being an asshat. So basically, right off the bat, we get dibs on that Pokeball. But, you know, asshat doesn't like that. Asshat does not like us. And asshat is jealous of our soon-to-be success, as it's written in the scrolls. So he's looking around, you know, he's kind of like fidgeting, you know, he hasn't taken his hit this morning, he's kind of upset. So we're going to go ahead and try and take this, but, you know, being the meth addict he is, he's just going to push us out of the way, you know, maybe throw a thread at us or two. So he takes our Pokemon that we were going to have. A lot of y'all are maybe thinking, oh, wasn't that Pikachu? No, that was not Pikachu. We have to settle for Pikachu now. This wild, untamed piece of shit is going to be ours. So, as custom, let's nickname him. Why not? So, thinking, you know, Pikachu's yellow, you know, I thought of, you know, one of the most oldest still yellow members of RID, and, you know, I guess a lot of you guys can already think of who I'm going with here. You know, why not? I think it's an appropriate name for a Pikachu. Creamy. Okay, so basically we can fight Pokemon, fight our pets, just like Michael Vick. So we're about to leave. You know, I'm definitely taking the pacifistic way out of here. You know, I'm not gonna fight this crack addict. You know, I'm just gonna walk out, start my own adventure. I'm gonna be the bigger person. But no, asshat, he's trying to bark up the wrong tree, and I won't have none of that. So he's got an Eevee, which the name Eevee, that's a polynundrum. Is that the name of that? Polynundrum? I feel it's something like that. It's where the same word can be spelled back and forth, like race car or Bob. But right off the bat, I'm definitely thinking a Thunder Shock is in order here. And he's gonna tail whip me, so I'm thinking, you know what, let's just growl. He's gonna tackle me, and I'm not cool with that, but, you know, what are you gonna do? Oh, and he's paralyzed. That's actually awesome. Wow, how lucky am I? Usually this first battle is like the hardest battle throughout the game, and a critical hit. Wow, I am just getting lucky. I can't believe it. Wow. You know, there's actually like a 57% chance you lose this first battle because it's the hardest first battle in any Pokemon game. It's actually true. So we're level 6. Wow, I did not... Hacks got on my side here. Okay, so what we got is we got our attack, defense, speed, and special. I have to look them up more because Generation 1 definitely has some wacky spreads. But essentially... Well, right now it looks like we're more of a physical attacking, I guess. I'm assuming that's what special means. And I think that is. Special is your special attack and defense at the same time, which is kind of weird, but yeah. So we learned Tail Whip. Not really going to use Growl or Tail Whip that much unless I feel like I'm backed in a corner in a way. So he picked the wrong Pokemon, and he's probably going to kill me for it. So I'm definitely going to sleep with one eye open on my adventure. But says he's gonna toughen it up, and he says he'll smell us later. That's a bit weird. Yeah, his grandpa's even like, what? No, I'm just kidding. He's saying what? Because Pikachu's being a bitch and doesn't want to be in his ball. So he also tells you that you can talk to it and see how it feels about you. And depending on how your Pokemon feels about you will actually determine certain Pokemon you can get throughout the game, and we'll discuss on that later. Now, basically the first phase of our life done. Before we head on to this route, I'm basically just going to end this first episode, and definitely, you know, I can't wait to start on the rest. It's going to stay this speed, pretty much. You know, chat's not really important, story's not important. The more important thing is the Nuzlocke challenge and this walkthrough. You'll get a basic visual idea of what needs to be done and what's going to be done, you know, just from me commentating over it. But anyways, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for episode 2.